If you can look up specific ones, there are ones that I wanted that go. My song, it's called the Royal March. And again, this is something that would be really easy for you to compose an original piece, because what it is just major chords being pounded in a rhythmic kind of march. You know how to construct that, basically 4/4. And hearing the kind of casting that we have, we've got 2 musicians, and then Joelle and I as like drag personae, and then we have the 2 burlesque girls and the soloist. I think what we might want to do is make Joelle the high priest and then myself the high priestess, but it'll still be very androgynous, right. Kind of our elements of it, but still having us, because the drag can be stretched out at such a far kind of zoom, and like his stature, it's not something that you want to apologize for at all.
Yeah, tout it.
And that's why, for him, I had designed that plunging V here, because something like this, if you have a huge, again, so you get a sense of the kind of costume, ways that I think of costuming. If you have these huge elements here, and then this plunges down, all the way below his belly button, it's just going to make him look like an Amazon, kind of super exotic, highlight the length of his torso, and I think that adds to kind of the burlesque, kind of showing skin element to it, and I don't know, I just kind of really like this concept for him, so maybe what would be a good idea, sorry I'm thinking out loud again, maybe he and I can construct our costumes together so they look a similar way, and we're like, of a certain set, and because the girls want to be the virgin kind of chicks to them.
You're thinking about like a number where we can introduce the 2 of you. You have a similar kind of aesthetic that we can kind of that I can kind of compose a piece around. And is that kind of what you're looking for?
Kind of in a way. So play the Royal March. Did you just play it already?
Sort of.
It's Royal March from Carnival of the Animals, Saison.
Okay, so is it the first movement? I think the rest of this is actually like the Royal March.
Yeah, or it's the lion, actually.
Yeah, I see. There's a picture of a lion, so I'm pretty sure.
Have us enter very kind of stately. I totally
very like Morocco. Yeah.
It's definitely 4/4. And you hear the major chords being just pounded rhythmically. And then the strings are all in unison in their own voice parts, or either unison or again in those major chords. That's kind of a good way. And then compositionally, that might be a good way of thinking of it as well. We want to either have a variant of major and minor versus kind of half joyful and gleeful terms.
Yeah, I mean, with that introduction that I call it introduction that I just proposed, like I was trying to like really kind of get that this different like I had that introduction is actually a 12 tone.
starts off kind of at a 6 a.m. Is it playing at all? Yeah, it's playing.
Yeah, so it's bad.
He stands up. Does really spooky things with his cape. And then with the cape he can dance with this really kind of like from the Black Swan, there's a character who does like all these cape dances, really kind of enchanting, kind of creepy. I'm happy we had a violinist. Well, I can play the violin, I'm just not very good at it.
Yeah, that's the thing, like, I'll have that really, like, ornate, organ playing. Like, I can pull it off on a good day, but I'm feeling like the night of, like,
Is your medium composition or is your medium piano?
composition.
Okay.
I mean, I've been taking lessons pretty rigorously started college. I've been playing this full repertoire, and I've been playing, actually working on a piano right now.
It's just the Boxicata and fugue is the fugue that is like, you don't wake up playing. That's like after 8-10 years of playing that you can, and I'm not just like,
Yeah, and it's most effective when you have like a really, really good organ player who can play these chords with like mind-blowing speed. So that's why I kind of want to flex my compositional muscle more so, because I can create that effect again without the virtuosity.
of course, and by all means, all of these pieces that I'm suggesting of, I'll just kind of throw you out the qualities that I like of it.
Yeah.
What I like, and maybe I can get that under my fingers, and I can, what would it be? It would be in like any kind of ritual sacrifice. If Joel is the high priest, then I would be kind of like the cardinal, or like the person who prepares the things for him to have. So, yeah, and he does all kind of the wicked things.
All the magic.
Yeah, I just have a lot of like, the way that I compose my theatrical elements is very visual based. Because the composition fine with performance art. And again, one thing that I think would be really cool is to have the verse kind of lifted up very gently, and then have her shoe on point, and then down, and then she ruptures it and starts shooting. That is kind of like what I think.
Talking this out, and you're giving little summaries of each passage. You like focus on this one, because I would love to compose to really enrich the effectiveness of those numbers. Have those specific moments, like those are the kind of moments that you work up and down from as a composer. So
yeah, and that's why I really like, and then again, classical music, like classical music nerd. That's why for me, Rite of Spring is such an inspiration, and not, well, I love the music of it, but just like the way that it's composed, just the history behind it is like, it not only was it Stravinsky, but it was also Nijinsky, and when it premiered, there was a riot. That's kind of the element that I want to bring to this, to our show. I have the score for you.
oh, dear, really?
You want to kind of... I'm like that. I'm a dramaturg. It's kind of the way that I approach any performance thing. It's just like, what elements of it? Another song that I've kind of thought of is called Aquarium by Saint-Saëns. What I like about this is it's sustained dissonant passages with a high-pitched melody that's really haunting, and it's got this kind of driving, kind of wake thing. And so what I would exaltation, the Virgin comes in, and we have our backs turned towards her, and then we slowly, I'm big into doing extreme adagio, in terms of extreme adagio in the movement, where we stand here, and it takes us 2 minutes to turn this way. That's where it's like, that's kind of like slow, you can slow down more instrumental. And so let's do it. Let's go just to get a feel for it. It reminds me of the forest scene from Beauty and the Beast as well. Is that playing?
It's just loading. Oh, yeah.
And you see how we're just like looking, and then we walk towards her, and then we like welcome her to the space, and then she starts to walk, and then you'll hear the descending passage coming up at the very end. It's so haunting. It's like, you'll see. Or she won't start to walk until that descending passage. Is it there? That's a DAT, right? That's DAT, right?
Yeah.
And then that's when we kind of like greet her and like welcome her to this space, kiss her, start to love on her, and like thank you so much for sacrificing yourself for our sake. They talk about, this guy was telling her about it. Interesting?
Yeah, no, that's great.
But these are kind of the elements that you can... I always think of it in terms of Pandora, the way that Pandora classifies a song. The way that they would classify that is keyboard elements, either piano. I don't know what specific instrument that would be. It sounds like a piano. Sustained strings. Kind of like an 8 major passage. It repeats over and over again. That's an element to it. And then that denouement that happens when the DA theory, that's her walking to her death. It's evocative of that. So take those nuggets with you, or like,
and please like include these nuggets in the notes that you
and that's why, and that is so easy to block. We'll say, Joelle, you lead it. You have 8 measures to slowly turn around and then look. I then have 8 measures to slowly turn around and look. Then we will walk to the edge of the stage, and then when that DA part happens, that's when she will start to walk towards us. That's how I always kind of choreograph my things in the improvisational mindset. I'm just like, walk. That's when you begin to walk, and we'll kind of like at the beginning of The Lion King is one of those elements that I wanted to evoke. I'm just like having the entire congregation, Joelle being like, come to us, and then I'll be like, yes, and then when she comes up, we bow to her, and it's like super creepy. Are you getting how creepy it can be? And it doesn't have to be gory, and it doesn't have to be zombie-based. What you have to do is really upplay that.
You rode him enough and got him in shape.
This music is real. It evokes kind of like the cool setting would be, you know, those metallic drums with the prongs and the teeth for the music boxes. Those are kind of cool tones as well. Like,
I'll look for some samples.
how possible do you think the accordion will be?
Live accordion?
Live?
I mean, I can
like a flower girl, ring bearer kind of setting the stage, of you clear the crowd, harden with the grinding. That can be completely improvised on your part, day of, live.
Amplifying that, I'd have to get some sort of like
Pick up.
portable mic.
I mean, another thing is, if it were softer, it would quiet the entire crowd.
If they were respectful enough to quiet down, yeah, it's possible.
Or maybe
It's a loud instrument on its own.
we can maybe we can come back and have a sound check as well. Because I'm an instrumentalist. I actually brought my bass because I'm preparing for a pageant. And this is the look. I'm going to make this and I do quick ballet as well. And I'm a constant play double basses like so I can't play the virtuoso, but if I have a pickup, that's where you can also stretch it and get the depth in it as well. Maybe we can also think of different percussive and kind of like almost like maracas or egg shakers, things like that, where people can have like dancing things before we move. I don't know, just thinking out loud maybe more things.
Yeah, we should definitely get more like hand percussion and like percussive, acoustic percussion like devices.
Have you ever used a theremin? Was that a theremin setting that you used?
It's kind of it's indicative of a theremin, and it's having that kind of like it's just basically like a sine wave synthesizer that has like a glide setting on, so it glides between the notes.
Have you ever used a theremin though?
I have.
It's so weird. You just do this.
It's so fun. Yeah. You can make really interesting sounds with it. Have you seen like classical theremin players? You actually
It's nuts.
do arias with a theremin. And having a live theremin would be awesome. Like for future performances potentially, but like
I wish you could find them cheap. It depends. They would either be really expensive or really cheap.
you can make them. It's a really, really simple device. I could probably look into actually maybe like doing a homemade theremin.
It's so creepy. If you don't, the only thing is to make it awesome as a performance element, you can't tell people the mechanics of it because people literally think it's magic. They're like, oh my god, how are you doing that?
Not even touching it, and it's making yeah.
Oh, whoa. Just got some new pads. My toe is going numb. Anyway. So I've taught you kind of some of the ideas that I've worked on. I also do point, but I don't know if me doing point would kind of ruin the surprise of her doing point, or it maybe might not be that big of a deal if I also do it.
You can do it together.
I do. Let's see. So in terms of the composition, again, what else did I have? Night on Bear Mountain. Again, all of these are just basic like Halloween, classical CD 101, like anything you find on it. Which is, I guess, kind of where I'm sensing your reluctance to use those pieces.
Totally like get inspiration from them because there's a reason why they're so popular. It's because they create this mood, this horror-esque mood, and we need to really like find out,
capitalize on
those devices. Like, I think it's a good idea to keep them in mind for sure. Of course, like being a composer, I want to compose, and I want to.
Right, and that's why I'm trying to be as respectful of that when and terms of how, like, I'm not like, again, use these, I'm like, oh, I understand, I can have a discussion to understand why those pieces are so popular and cultural significant as well. A little bit about my history when it comes to composing events. Like, as an undergraduate, the symphony always produced a Halloween spectacular. It was like a cult classic event that happened on our campus, and I produced it 2 years in a row, and I acted in it 2 or 3 years of it. What we did, we film a video, we play classical music in front of it, and then we have live performance elements on the night of, and we fill a 2,500 seat concert hall, sell it out at $10 a ticket. We make $22,000 a night. That's kind of where my experience and like creating these things, like the concept of it comes from. Again, more of a classically oriented, spectacular based thing. So those like, whenever anyone has any compositional or modern day references that they want to bring in, that's where my ear perks. It was like, oh, okay, we should do that, because again, with that classical mindset in the back of your mind, it is a formula. It's like, again, like those stage strings, anything dissonant, people are like, oh, creepy, Halloween.
Like, those go to Halloween classical,
like the DAC rate, like that is,
they're just so jam-packed with these compositional devices that are so effective, especially in a dramatic setting. Like, we need to like have all these things in our arsenal for this performance, because it's going to make the whole thing way more effective.
Right. So I've only kind of worked on the first act. I was thinking of also having that maypole thing with, I mean, as you know, it's like that vertical thing, and then it's got these, and then people just, what's really cool is that you like weave in and out of each other and then spin around in reverse directions, and it creates like a really awesome kind of ribbon effect down the center of it. So, musically, things that kind of interest me for this is calliope music. Again, similar to organ, but more focused on the upper register. Really kind of frill bass. Obviously, don't necessarily need to do ringling for their circuit. That's a Sousa march. But people often play that on the calliope at the circus. So, a compositional element in terms of music, I guess what we can use to know is if you do kind of base it off of a marching band march. And that's super simple to choreograph. Again, the reason why I go towards these is because these are pagan ritual in their influence. The reason why they do this on May 1st, May Day, Maypole, is to evoke fertility. This is basically a phallus, and then this is the fertility spewing from it, and that's why you have the young girls in the village dancing around it. That's kind of the cultural history of it. And so that's why I want to ingrain it in kind of this as well. And so maybe this is where the Virgin can be, and then we're dancing around her, kind of creating all of these adorning things. What would be cool is, so this is just a side drawing. This is the pole, and normally it's ribbon. But if we had huge kind of drapey things, instead almost like sails, and we were weaving in and out of it, and it's really Gaussian sort of effect.
Sort of spatial limitation that we have, that might be best, rather than doing this whole like structure, this TV structure. It might be easier to do like or that this pole and then the cloth, still getting the same effect of like whirling around this balance, but like.
And the way that we do that is we pre-construct the pole. I'll try to kind of eyeball the clearance of it, and then to hold the pole vertically, what we'll do is just duct tape her to it.
Okay.
Duct tape her at her waist, and then right underneath her rib cage, and she just stands straight, kind of. And then again, what makes it creepier is if we don't make her look pain. If the more kind of pain and death we evoke, the more obvious it is. Right. What is creepy is if she's like a little girl and she's like in Wonderland, and you're playing this calliope music, and she's just like euphoric at this event, and we're just like, yeah, this is so awesome, like Children of the Corn status.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, instead of just being like,
no one is recognizing the fact that something nasty or deathly is happening. We're just kind of like, this is exactly what everyone's expecting, and everyone in the audience is like, what? Like, what is going on here? Like, yeah, there's definitely like a distinct separation being created between the performer, psychologically between the performers and the audience members, and it's that disconnect that is like, it really creates that eerie effect.
And so the concept of burlesque, the biggest thing that I can impart to anyone wanting to get into the art form, even musically, you can do this musically as a performance element. It doesn't have to be, a lot of time people think that burlesque has to be stripping and strip teasing, and obviously that's not necessarily true. It is really sustaining that resolution as long as you can. The concept of leave them wanting more. If this performance very well could and might turn into this kind of like zombie apocalyptic thing at the end where we're just kind of throwing blood around, glitter everywhere, and just completely like lose ourselves in that element of it. But if you had, just conceptually, if there wasn't any blood in this 1 hour performance until the last 5 minutes, then people are like, oh my god, like, why are they continuing to dance around in these flowy muslin things? And then we have that preset blood, just like I was telling you. And at Catholic Mass, a lot of the things, sometimes what they do is there's this concept of offering the peace. And you go around and you say, peace be with you, to everyone in your vicinity. I'm not sure how familiar you are with it, or you do the sign of the peace, and that would be something that I'd like for us to do in our thing, of this kind of like, oh, peace be with you, and it's like, oh, why are they doing this? This is like kind of weird and creepy. Creepy is being the operative word. Like, this is kind of religious in its offering, and that might be a performance element that maybe the chicks can do, the handmaidens can do, of, I don't know. Just kind of thinking of. I'm also obsessed with the performativity of religion. That's like boom, 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 and not necessarily like Catholic Mass, but also just like pagan ritual as a religion.
Well, yeah, people are like has its ceremony and its performance,
and even just like because I'm Mexican American, so I love incorporating any Aztec, any Mayan kind of things into it, and that's why for Joelle having this huge cornet, kind of Montezuma-esque, kind of flowing out, would be really cool visually. So, do you necessarily have any more ideas, or kind of thoughts to add, or? I mean, that's kind of what I've been able to gather. I really like this imagery of the maypole, the imagery of the royal entrance, kind of creating this grandeur.
Yeah, I think we got a lot of stuff to go off of here, and I think like paring it down to what we think are going to be the most effective for that first 30 minutes. Like, I think that's when a lot of the pageantry is going to happen. I like the idea of like really focusing on that first half and kind of leaving the second half for being this kind of like riotous, sort of like free for all. Mostly just for economy of attention. Like we're
It's participation based.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But like, setting up the goals performers, number one.
I'm so sorry.
I get that, but I'm not saying for you to work.
And setting the mood for the second half too. Like we need to have the audience sufficiently freaked out by the time the second half comes to be. So.
That's gonna be
Yeah. And so maybe the way we can think of it in our minds is the first half can be the word more ethereal, creepy, religious, exaltation in its kind of energy and mindset of coming up with these. Again, I'm really into Dadaism, and this guest said she was too. Like, for no reason, just like coming up with physical things that we can do in the space that for us is like a religious, ritualistic thing. And then that's when we can incorporate the glitter. At the first half, I'm just like, oh, now there's glitter everywhere. Because visually the glitter adds this kind of sparkle, kind of fairy tale whimsy element to it. And then in the second half, that's when we can just be like, don't, the blind one.
Yeah.
Do you see? I'm just like, of the first half, and then, I mean, I think they really want her to be in more of the first half of it, but I would like, compositionally, it would be best for her entrance to be the end of the first act of that royal march of us turning in. She comes in, we greet her, and then our feast is the intermission. We go out and have drinks, start intermingling with people. That's when you can maybe compose something, or the DJ can play those songs that'll be like, oh, okay.
Okay, that night.
For the Maypole, I know what song that I was thinking of evoking. It's from the gym scene in West Side Story. I love West Side Story as well.
I was really feeling that guy.
Are you familiar? You're familiar with it?
Yeah.
Pretty much. It's the ba-da-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, ba-da-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, ba-da-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. They walk around and they stop, and then it gets very cha-cha. And that's where, if we have the Maypole, it's ba-da-dum-bum-bum-bum-bum, turn around, bow, go around, kind of do this weaving thing. So if you want to inspire yourself compositionally from that, I love Bernstein. Bernstein's my bitch.
Oh my god.
Candide is just, for me, I just like, oh my god. I love Candide. I love West Side Story. He also wrote a mass, which we might look into inspiring ourselves by. But yeah, that's what when I was thinking of composing the Maypole vignette. Maybe if we do the Maypole at the end of the first act, and then during intermission she's tied to the Maypole, that'll kind of be set.